Lucas I primary. Change lesson, please.
Sister, good morning.
Why you late?
Oh, my main champion.
Why you late?
My name is last one.
Why you late? Beja bear, me. Why you late?
Say Major, good morning.
Hey, why you late?
Oh, my main champion.
Oh, why you late?
My name is last one.
Hey, why you late? Bear me. You fast, but why you late?
School the big keke. You just follow your F again. Hello, darling. Brother, if you wake up.
Myself. What time I need to last time? Baby, I'm a best one. I would do my time 11:30. Then put us in my band.
What bantem won't make catch you? I won't so walk catch you. This boy and casa you don't respect. I should need to be the assignment. Be he crying as a war. I be feeling class test. You waba baby. John Bulu say wine. Could you crab or no free pantine? And then I show my papa. So why we are way past the one from the
This one is not my fault. I'm coming inside, I get caught. It's not a phone call, it's not a home call. This one is a special nature's call.
And so, what are you waiting for? Menya nice man walk on waso. Ope crap on Niger, offer pastor. Come lie down, you fast my time oko.
Say time media jai man in court. Me fifi and no one in pipe. Say headmaster who me cry on Kemunko. So dear unye mo che apostle.
Ready food, shall I want my ninja?
Oh say please.
Say fin, womb what the shen sama wujna hockey cat. Mema mi boom for your sass and beba. Yo.
Say who me mobile wine I mean bium. May I have attention crowd me no dum. Or china cry for me a draw. I'm a come to bomb me and who I shall when so bad.
School the big keke. You just follow your F again. Hello, darling. Brother, if you wake up.
And you say good morning.
Why you late?
And then so to make him pray. Yeah, make a be a winty. And your prince be better to your mundi.
Ah, that two boys name so my.
Ni okay na machi was you. Now so me no nya adwene.
Hello, good morning. You are tuned into News Magazine with me, Irubadi Ibrahim, and
Nasafo.
And this program is brought to you by a dedicated crew. And today I want to send a shout out to 3 of them. Our chief producer, one of the chief producers, so to speak, Asenso Eje, a proud son of Asante Mai. And then this beautiful set design is by Kobna Safo and also Kwame Safo Kakra. So we say a good morning to you and the rest of the crew. And we go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, Abena helps us with the trending news. Those stay and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school where quality basic education, discipline and moral upbringing is our hallmark? Then come to Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Basic School. Great Asas, Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences has vacancies in preschool, lower and upper primary, JHS 1 and JHS 2, with spacious and ventilated classrooms. The school also has excellent boarding facilities for students from upper primary to JHS. Great Asas also has a well-stocked library, a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home, with adequate security measures to ensure your ward safety. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Preschool has state-of-the-art learning materials to make learning fun for your ward. We also have the Cadet Corps and a cultural troop to tap hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshi Last Stop, Accra. Great Asa!
You're welcome back. Abna, what do you have for us by way of trending news?
Well, it's always a great pleasure to be here and serve our audience with the best of trending news. So we'll know what is trending around us. And so I'll take you to our trending news for today. Okay, the first one says, we paid 100,000 to stop screening of Anna's video. Nyantechi's wives confirm.
The fight against corruption is a never-ending fight, especially in Africa. But for me, it's bad to wash your dirty linen in public. So when we malign, demonize, and humiliate our own leaders and we show to the international press, especially when we do so in a very selective way, then I'm not a supporter of such a methodology. I think the system didn't treat Kwesi Nyantakyi fairly, and he has a right to hearing in a competent court of jurisdiction. but then he's already been hanged in the public domain. So now that we are getting pieces of information in trickles and soon in the form of an avalanche, then we will get the bigger picture of what really went down. All of us transact business. When you call a potential business partner to the lobby of a hotel and you secretly film the person, give the person money you call shopping money, and turn around and premiere the person's shame and humiliation, moving from city to city as if you were a producer of blockbuster movies, then that goes to the very heart of our morality as a people. You don't use the wrong means to solve the ills of society. Yeah. So therefore, the household of Nyantakyi do have the right to tell Ghana and the rest of the world their side of the story. If they feel they were framed up, they were blackmailed, then the public needs to know, even though the one who did the work also has a right to give his side of the story. But what other side of the story do we need? We've heard everything, and we've seen everything. We've seen the series of demonization and humiliation Kwesi has been subjected to. So he has every right to speak up. His family has every right to speak up now.
Well, Anas and his crew or team are actually denying that they know nothing about the $100,000 being demanded from Nyantakyi and his family. They don't know anything about it. What could you say about that? Because
it's up to the public to judge the veracity.
Do you think someone would just pose as a part of Anas's theme and then go demanding for $100,000 from
and especially
Nyantakyi and
you
his
just
family?
don't go to a person and say, I have this debt on you, give me this much. I need to show you the evidence.
Definitely.
Yes.
So I don't see why
it's up to the public to judge. I think there are better ways of fighting corruption. We can do so through rigorous and comprehensive advocacy, involving it as part of our educational system, right from the KG level to the highest level. We get opinion leaders like chiefs, pastors, and imams, the media, talking about the harm of corruption. But to treat a human being this way, no matter how egregious what the person has done, someone in Kwesi's shoes would have committed suicide by now. Yeah. Death is better than shame.
I know.
So therefore, let's look at the story holistically and be fair to all sides.
Sure. That story was actually from Ghana Web. And then the next one says, price of pure water increased
from, I don't know
from
how much.
20 pesos to 30 pesos.
Okay, that's a 50%
exactly.
marginal.
And then actually
is that a marginal increase?
The sachet of water was used to be sold, I think, 3 cedis, and then it's now 3 cedis, 50 pesos. I mean, water, I think it's a basic means, and it's a basic commodity that everyone, whether poor, rich, whatever, needs to take in water. And so I don't see why we should strive
the increase is a process in purification. Currently, the country is carrying out desalination on a mammoth scale. We don't only rely on pond, we don't rely on rainwater. We can use seawater. So through processing, so that you take the salt out of it and then make it, portable and conducive for people to consume. So therefore, when you look at the value chain, Abena, I believe that more needs to be done, because this is the commonest commodity product you can talk of. Nothing is cheaper than water in the world. More than 70% of the earth itself is covered by water. So therefore, poor people in the Republic of Ghana should not struggle only to quench their thirst.
Okay. Let's see how far this takes us to. And that story was actually from Peace FM. And then the next one says, designed to make Ghana sales hub for West Africa with assembly plant.
Nissan has got Japan Motors as one of its outlets in the Republic of Ghana, and Japan Motors has been at it for decades. It is a leader in the automobile, industry, and therefore it's good news that the leaders or the management of Japan Motors continue to evolve. They continue to become innovative to provide, the kind of cars that suit a very burgeoning middle-income, demographic in the Republic of Ghana. So it's a good, refreshing piece of news. And also Kantanka Automobile is also doing a great deal of work in that area. So therefore, we need to patronize all and then also give emphasis to domestic production.
And I think this is actually it's not the only manufacturing company that government is bringing in, because previously
VW.
they had talked about VW, exactly.
Yeah, so I think the management of Kantanka, and I don't speak for Kantanka Automobiles, had reason to put forward very logical, arguments that if you have a burgeoning or fledgling automobile industry, you don't choke it out of business.
Definitely.
So you provide it the oxygen it needs to breathe. Yeah. But when you have it compete with global giants like VW, then you are not being too fair.
Definitely.
So therefore, I think we need to patronize our own. We need to support our own. So therefore, much as we welcome the successes being chalked by Nissan in the Republic of Ghana, investing and patronizing Kantanka automobile products too would be helpful.
Okay. Away from that, the next one actually says Africa wants to manufacture its own vaccine. I think for over decades now, we always want, import vaccines from the international.
The state of our laboratories, our laboratories are in a sorry state. I did chemistry. I'm a disappointed medical doctor. I set out thinking I would be a medical doctor. Yes. What people learn as part of biology, chemistry, and others, the things we use today, pipette, titrate, and others, they were used many decades ago. So we should keep up with the Joneses by moving with the times, so that as a country we invest more in experimentation, we invest more in innovation, we invest more in science and technology, so that we'll be able to, vaccines are very common. Something very basic. We need to understand our unique health challenges and be able to confront them.
Yeah. So do you think this is a good step for Africa?
Of course, no two ways about that. You know, AIDS, the AIDS pandemic, the HIV/AIDS pandemic, when it started, and even Ebola, there are conspiracy theories that someone was trying to experiment and then the person injected people in parts of West Africa like Guinea with some of these vaccines. So therefore, let's not allow people to go and cook up medical products and come and experiment on us. We know that rabbits are mammals that share striking similarities with human beings. Sometimes rabbits are used. There are times prisoners, condemned prisoners, are used for some of those experimentations. There are conspiracy theories that third world countries like those in Africa are sometimes used for medical experimentation. So if we can produce our own and use, that is much, much better.
It would help. Okay, that's a good start, and I think we have to embrace our own. And then away from the local funds to international, Cameroon, this is actually from BBC, Cameroon kidnapped. Army searches for 79 people seized in Bamenda.
I just hope this doesn't become a sequel to what is Deja Vu. You remember the Chibok girls? They were abducted from a school, a senior high school meant for girls. And somebody ransacked, some people did, and then they carted them away through an abduction. And up to this time, not all of them have been retrieved. But we know Boko Haram, a militant organization, is transnational. It doesn't operate only in the northeast of Nigeria. It crosses the border into Cameroon. So therefore, these are domestic grievances that need to be tackled. If Cameroon, Benin, and Nigeria are able to solve their stability issues, then stories like this will not mar the reputation of the continent.
What really ignites this abduction issue that we're hearing around us?
Sometimes they want to grab. Sometimes they want to grab international headlines. And other times they are a guerrilla group. You need women to be doing the dishes, doing the cooking while you are in the bush. So sometimes they may, ransack a whole city and pick up the young ladies and then ask them to do all those jobs for them. But surprisingly, because human beings are gregarious, they are sociable or social. With time, the young ladies get used to the militants. So in the case of Chibok, some of the girls actually said they were not going back to their parents.
Really?
Yes. It's just like tramadol, or forming a clique, a cult group of young people where you have a feeling and a sense of belonging. So they form that clique, and then people become so emotionally attached to the cause of the group. But abductions anywhere, whether of girls or of boys, is condemnable, and I don't believe it's a good thing for Africa.
Okay, that's all for our trending news for today. I'll take a leave of Irbad in a bit. I'll be back with trending news, and if you want to read more about these stories, you can go to our various authentic news portals and then read more. Remember, brain is it's your power, and so if you read more, it would help us build our brain capacity.
Abena, thank you so much. Don't also forget, you can go online and read some of the resources on Kantanka's, website. Today we speak to two important people: former chairperson of the National and Development Planning Commission, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, on who writes our textbooks, who authors them. And we speak to an officer with the curriculum authority that puts together the books your kids use in basic school. You just can't afford to miss the conversation. Do stay and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Onipa how ene ne da chinti ena abribia wo sori prehwehwe na hoto ahoto ne so e ma prekope enkukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti ena Kantanka TV ya hye dwumadie foforo kra ya to din se edwasonsem wo dwasonsem dwumadie so ne baba kuna adwadefo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efa mu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wo de pre ahwehwe won da achen ahoto eno ti hya wo bia ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne afa edwasonsem emfa mbro.
Abodie mu no wonim sɛ onyankopɔn ɛwɔ adoma a ɔde dom man bia saa akyɛdeɛ ɛyɛ nneɛma a ɛboa ma nipa nya ahotɔ ɛwɔ ne daadaa asetenam nsuo mframa yɛaduane yɛnua kwaye enhahama ɛne nnuro ahodoɔ mpo yɛ amammerɛ ɛne amaneɛ saa nneɛma ɛyɛ nneɛma a nyankopɔn de bɔ ɔman bia sɛdeɛ mbɛma emu nipa no anya ahotɔ. Enti na Kantanka television ahyehyɛ dwumadie so nko a yato ne din sɛ yɛdiem. Ɛwɔ yɛdiem dwumadie so no na yɛkɔ Ghana mmea nyinaa ne akɔ akɔfa nneɛma ahodoɔ a Onyankopɔn de adom yɛn ɛne mfasoɔ a yɛnya no wɔ so. Saa nso ne yɛbɛhwɛ ahobanbɔ so nko a yɛde bɛma saa nneɛma yi. Yɛtumi ahwɛ so ye ɛde yɛgya hɔ ɛde ama nkyirima. Sɛ meka yɛdiem a na wagye so sɛ papapaa. Yɛdiem papapaa.
Made in Ghana, yediem.
Yeah, yediem.
Yediem. Ome yenjuanji yenyama.
Yediem made in Ghana.
Yeah, yediem made in Ghana.
You're welcome back, and today we discuss the content of the books that are used in basic schools, and we will look at the curriculum, what goes in the drafting of the curriculum. You can join the conversation via WhatsApp on 0242 817 239, and in due course you will have the opportunity to phone into the show to share your views and opinions. We have on the line a curriculum development officer, Mr. Ni Mensa Ananyaka. Mr. Ni, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you too.
Okay, Ni, the NAACA, what is it and what is its mandate?
NAACA.
Yes.
We don't have anything like NAACA.
Okay. So what is the National Curricular Authority?
No, we don't have anything like that. We have National Council for Curriculum and Assessment.
National Council of
Curriculum and Assessment.
And Assessment. Okay. So it's a statutory body. What is it and what is its mandate?
Okay. NACA is a statutory body that was established by the Educational Act 778 of 2008. And it is mandated to review the curriculum of pre-tertiary institutions in Ghana.
So by pre-tertiary, we are talking about anything from grade 1 in basic school up to SHS 3. Is that what your purview is?
That is starting from kindergarten 1 to SHS 3.
Okay. And we've exhaustively discussed preschool, and we are currently on basic school. Most of the guests we had were operators within the Montessori sector, the private, sector. What kind of curriculum do you prepare for people as little as those in KG1?
Well, we have a curriculum that is based on some form of thematic approach. When we talk about kindergarten, literally it means kids' garden. It's more or less like an environment created where children learn through play. It is not mainly too much of a formal setting. The children are given the free will to play, and through the play, children learn by observation and interaction. So that is the opportunity given to the children, and through that, they are able to learn using the immediate environment.
Thank you for the etymology of KG. So by that, if they are to learn through play, does your outfit dictate what time is meant for siesta, the kind of learning kits that should be used in such preschool settings?
Kindergarten curriculum is more or less like the way it is implemented. The school is given that freedom based on local dynamics. So it is not like a fixed structure if we enter class 1, where a learner is supposed to go through a 30-minute period. For kindergarten, it is not like that. They have the freedom to explore. So as and when the child is ready to go through a learning activity, the teacher ensures that the child is engaged. When the child needs some form of assistance or the child needs to rest, the child is also given that opportunity to rest. So it is not so formalized that you have to enter classroom at this point, there is break time at this point, there is this, no, this is very free and open.
So at the preschool level, there is no form of assessment since there's no paperwork to deal with in the first place.
When we talk about assessment, majority of Ghanaians only think about pen and paper. And that is not assessment at all. It's just one aspect. I could say it's even 10% of the assessment. Majority of assessment is based on observation and what the person is able to do. That is more of attitude when it comes to early grades. And with early grades, we are talking about kindergarten age 4 to about age 9, which is primary 3. You do more of observation, what the child is doing, and based on that, you are able to assess the child. But you don't put the child under pen and paper. But that is what we see in Ghana today. Most parents, even at kindergarten level, ask teachers to give their children homework. And I don't know the type of homework they have to give to the child. Children are forced to write, to do other things, perform some activity that are beyond their capabilities. And that is not what we have prescribed in the curriculum. There's more of literacy at that level. the children is open up to talk. So you create a situation and you offer the child the opportunity to talk about what he or she is seeing. And that is where learning actually takes place. And then they are to identify probably the sounds of the letters of the alphabet. But what do we see? Teachers teach the children A, B, C, D, the names. And when you have A and you have N, automatically it cannot be N. It should be A because it's A and N. Yeah, so we only advise the teacher to take the children through the sounds of the letters, which we call phonemic awareness. And that sounds help the child. Another situation too, you see teachers teaching the children S-O, so, G-O, go. Then when you have T-O, then that one they say it is two. It is not two. You see, and it creates a whole lot of challenges for the child. That's why most Ghanaian children are unable to read at that early stage because of this system of teaching in the classroom setting.
You mentioned, sir, phonemic awareness, and I have in my hand, today is a weekday, maybe you aren't, sitting in your sitting room now, you can't watch.
Yeah.
And this book was authored by Harriet Nadede Dinko, and it's meant for primary 1. So what interface is there between the Curriculum Council and then private authors like this one? And what contributions are you allowed to make to the manuscripts?
Okay, thank you so much. As NACA, we have a mandate of assessing every teaching and learning material that have been developed by any publisher or author that is supposed to be used by children at the pre-tertiary level. That is our mandate. Unfortunately, we don't have the powers like Food and Drug Board and so forth had that they can go onto the market and retrieve goods that they know have not passed through their hand. Any publisher who writes a book or publishes a book is supposed to bring it to NACA for assessment. We have, we do content assessment, we do language assessment, and we do layout assessment. And then there is a team that sits down periodically, that almost every 3 months. And then this team assess the book based on the expert reviewer who have been given the document to look at. And we have 3 people who look at every document. And based on their recommendations, the team will now look at it and either approve of the book or recommend for some amendments and moderations that have to be made before it is resubmitted for approval. But most people just get onto the market, publish their books, and then they go around selling. And we don't have the mandate to go and then pick a book or withdraw it. It is now that there is a legislative instrument being developed or a policy document being developed. That's the third book policy, which we hope very soon will get to Parliament for approval. And when that is approved, we will now have the mandate to now go around and then books like you are having there, which though I'm not seeing, then we go and withdraw them since the people don't have the approval letter to go into our schools and sell them.
Preschool is a very behemoth industry, and your mandate is quite big, Ni. You are talking about thousands of schools dotted across the country. Even though you are not given any biting teeth, like the food and what you think is unwholesome for our kids at those various levels, how strong is your monitoring regime?
Okay. Actually, our office was just established and strengthened. We are not we are about 5 years old now, I could say. Yeah, and we work through the Ghana Education Service. The Ghana Education Service is one of the agencies of the Ministry of Education, as NACA is. So they have representation on the ground. At the district level, through the circuit level, we have circuit supervisors. Then they have head teachers too at the various schools, from kindergarten to senior high school. These personalities have been briefed severally on how to accept such books in their schools. But most of these things are done by the private schools. It is most of these private schools that do sell, buy such books on the market based on the author's relationship with the proprietor or the head of those schools. And to some extent, they even brand the books that have been published and purchased and distributed by government as low class, that they don't meet the objectives of the curriculum. Meanwhile, all those things were done by subject experts who were even part of the team that developed the curriculum for the various levels of our educational system. So all those things are tailored to meet the set objectives. But because of business, some people even at a point, about 2 weeks ago, there was a book that someone brought for assessment, and we realized the person has even plagiarized a whole lot. So this time we even make them to submit soft copies of some of the books, but we are now turning that into a policy so that we do the turn it in and check most of the issues or the facts that have just been copied directly without any moderation. We are in the process.
Okay, we are in the dying embers of our interaction, but a few quick questions, and you can keep your answers short and sweet, sir.
Okay. Okay.
The curricula you develop, are they meant for only public school, or there's an enforcement element for private schools?
Okay, thank you so much. Ghana uses a centralized curriculum, other than other countries like America. When you go, every state has its own curriculum. So the curriculum we develop here is for every school, both private and public.
But Montessori schools don't, those with the British system and the American system, like Lincoln School, GIS, Morning Star, they are not forced by the system to use your curricula.
Those of them who train their children to write the Ghanaian made exams, like BECU and WASI, they use our curriculum. But those of them who are going to write the British exams and so forth, they have curriculum, the Cambridge curriculum, tailored towards that. So they also use, so when you go to some of the schools, they run dual program, both, let's say, American system and Ghanaian system. That is how they do it.
We hope to have you in the studio sometime Friday, if that is possible, because there are a lot of concerns that you need to address. But in closing, the challenges that face many state institutions have a common denominator. When there is no efficiency, people say we are under-resourced. How resourceful is NACA?
Well, like I said much earlier on, NACA is more or less like one of the baby institutions. There were 3 major institutions that were established by the Educational Act 778 of 2008. That's NTC, who is now doing the teacher licensing, and then NIB, National Institute Board, and then NACA, who is into the curriculum system. And our budgets are through the Ministry of Education. And we are highly resourced to some extent, I could say, because currently we are even reviewing the entire curriculum from kindergarten to senior high school, which is in the process. And as of now, we are almost done with kindergarten and primary. So kindergarten to primary 6 is almost done, where we are now looking, we have done trial testing, we are now going to look at piloting. And then after the piloting, it will come to the whole, say, roll out, probably 2019-2020 academic year.
Okay, thank you so much. And we hope to see you in the studios on Friday.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Nimensa Ananiaka is a Curriculum Development Officer with the National Council on the Assessment of Curricula. You may now join the conversation via phone, and the number to call us on is 0558 656899, 0558 656899, and the number will roll shortly on your screen. So we go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we interact with you. Do stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
I am coming.
You're welcome back. We are privileged to have on the phone Dr. Nimoy Thompson. Doc, you're welcome to the show. Hello, Doc.
Hello, how are you?
I'm superb, Doc. Quite exhilarated to have you on the line today.
It's my pleasure too, sir.
Doc is an economist, a very renowned one, and then also former chair or president, however you want it, of the National Development Planning Commission. On the 24th of September, the Daily Graphic published on page 38 a write-up by Doc on the subject, Who Supervises Our Textbooks. Doc, you are an economist. You know the cost of illiteracy or under-education. What motivated your intention to pen such an insightful piece?
Well, thank you for the question and also the opportunity to elaborate on this very topic. I was just curious, and so I decided to look through my daughter is in secondary school. So I decided to look through her economics textbook. And then I realized that it contained a lot of mistakes and also outdated data and information. And then that led me to look at other types of textbooks also. And basically the same problem came up of mistakes and outdated information. So basically, we are feeding our children with dead knowledge before they even come out. And that may explain part of the reason why we are finding it difficult even solving our development problems. Because the people we are putting out there into the labor force are ill-equipped to even think critically, and for that matter, solve problems using current information. In the article, I mentioned the experience of Ghanaians in the international test for science and math. And Ghana came in next to last. And that's about 15 years ago. And when they tried to understand why we came in last, it turned out that the curriculum they used was 10 years out of date. and that's why our students didn't perform well. So it's a very serious problem. Thereafter, about 3 weeks ago, there was a hearing in Parliament, new Supreme Court Justice nominees, one of whom said that even people with first degrees in law who were applying to go and do master's degrees couldn't tell what a valid contract was. And this is serious. Again, it goes back to the kind of knowledge we are feeding them with. So it's a crisis of sorts. Therefore, what that means is that in addition to improving access by way of free SHS and other, government also needs to look at the entire value chain of education from KG all the way to university to make sure that we are giving our students the right type of knowledge, current, accurate, and relevant information and knowledge.
It will interest you to know, Doc, that there is a statutory body that was created only half a decade ago, the National Council on the Assessment of our Curricula in pre-tertiary schools. So aren't you surprised if you are talking about outdated content? Aren't you surprised we've only woken up to the reality that we need to have a body that would streamline the content of books?
Yes, yes. Again, some of these things just exist on paper, but don't really perform their functions. In the article, I actually did make reference to the Ghana Book Development Council. They are responsible for ensuring the quality of textbooks. And yet, if you go to their website, you realize that they themselves are not up to the task. It could be for any number of reasons. That there's simply no one is checking them. They don't have the resources. They don't know what their mandate should be. It's scary, really, in an age where knowledge is changing so rapidly. I just bought a book online, Amazon. In the past, I would have had to order it and wait for a number of weeks and all that. It took me less than 5 minutes to get the book on Amazon. It was downloaded directly onto my phone. And I'm entitled to future revisions, revised editions, and so forth and so on. This is the kind of world we live in. And yet we are teaching our children with knowledge that's 20, 25 years out of date. That is simply not acceptable. So if you want to be relevant in the 21st century, be competitive globally, then clearly we need to tackle this crisis. It is serious. It is very serious.
Doc, as a counterpunch, I have in my hand, and maybe tonight, if you aren't too busy at 10:30 p.m., you can watch. This is a religious and moral education textbook that is GES certified for grade 1. And it will shock you to know the credentials of the authors of this book. Professor W.K. Rowland, a professor of religious studies, Dr. Louis Pluim, an authority on family systems and parenting, Apostle Emmanuel Shaft of the Temple, Ghana and USA, Sheikh Ahmed Gunsi, a renowned Islamic scholar of the American University of Beirut, Lebanon, and Sheikh Mahmoud Dentani, an Islamic scholar and an authority on the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, Nana Kofi Obuojan, a traditionalist and a naturalist. Aren't you shocked that no matter how stellar these authors are, you should still find the lack of quality you saw in your child's book?
Yes. You see, I traced that also, the issue. I'm surprised that you have this many people writing one book. But I also, you see, I like to take a wider view of things. And so I then traced this problem partly to the collapse of the publishing industry in Ghana. And I came to that recognition when we were preparing the long-term plan, the National Development Planning Commission. And we found it difficult getting people to edit what we have written. We found it difficult getting people to proofread what we had written and needed to, because ideally you should just be a writer, and that's it. And then someone will edit your writing, give it structure, give you feedback, and then you go back and restructure it, and then it's edited again. And then after the editing, someone will have to proofread it before it is finally printed or published. We don't get these kinds of services anymore. If they are there, they're not up to snuff. So that is also part of the problem, where people are writing textbooks and they are being their own editors and proofreaders all combined. And when you do that, it's very difficult for you to get the kind of quality you want, because it's one person doing the work of three different people. No matter how smart you are, you'll always find challenges there. And those are some of the, I even reviewed some English textbooks, and they are problematic. The textbooks that are teaching you how to write English themselves left much to be desired. So as I said, we have a big problem. And you only have to look at the quality of journalism these days to realize the nature of the problem. That even most of our reporters can hardly write a simple, decent sentence. It goes all the way up to the university level. I'm always surprised when I hear a university professor on radio telling us, using words like severally, that they've done something severally to mean several times. But severally does not mean several times. It means something completely different. It means separately and not several times. And yet university professors are using them. You hear them use terms like whooping amount. It's not whooping amount, it's whopping amount. All right? Those kinds of things you get. So the entire system has been affected. And I believe in taking a long-term view, I think this is a delayed effect of the gradual decline in educational system that started in the mid-1970s and continued into the 80s. What happened during this period? A lot of qualified teachers left the country, as much as 15,000 trained teachers in the 1970s left. Of course, some also left in the 80s. And in their place, we have people who could hardly do anything. The people, teachers, and all that. They stepped in to basically infect this current generation of people that we see on the scene. That's my general explanation. There may be specific exceptions, because some of these professors who are writing these things, of course, went to school long before the 1970s and whatnot. So it's systemic, it's long-term decline, and we really need to set up and recognize it and therefore deal with it accordingly. Otherwise, we'll find it very, very difficult. Sometimes I hear people saying, well, if you can't write English or speak English, it's not our language. I beg to differ. English is our language. It's a Ghanaian language. It's our official language. It is the language, the medium of instruction. And it's also international language of business. So that even if it wasn't our official language, we would be better off learning to speak and write it properly. It just happens to be one of our languages. Why are we making up excuses that, well, English is not our language and so? No, it's not as if we speak our local languages any better or we write them any better. There's just a general decline in standards of education, whether it's English or any of the local languages or science or whatever. It's a crisis.
A potpourri of interesting and cogent arguments. Doc, we'll wrap up the interview shortly for want of time, but a few concerns I would like to raise. Yes, of course, you hear ministers say abreast with instead of abreast of, and a host of other blatant injuries to the Queen's language. But, Doc, someone would argue Cuba doesn't teach English. It doesn't use English as its mode of instruction in school, but it produces the best doctors. Iran doesn't. It has enough medical practitioners. It's opened Iran Clinic in Accra. Is it too much about the language or about improving the efficiency within the educational sector?
Well, to the degree that the language is the medium of transmitting knowledge, then it's important that you master the language, whether it's English or German or Spanish or Farsi or whatever. To the degree that it's your medium of instruction and your official language, you should master it. In Cuba, it is the medium of instruction and the official language. And so they do that. But the Cubans are also smart enough to know that internationally, English is a language you must know. So they add English to it. We don't have that extra responsibility. All over the world, the Chinese, the Japanese, everybody learns English in addition to their indigenous languages because it is a global language. You turn on CNN, it's there. BBC is there. We have Al Jazeera English, popular music, popular movies. Everything is in English. So I don't put that excuse that English is not our language. It is one of our languages. Again, it's not years ago, I think 2004, during the elections, there was a host on one of the key speaking stations who was giving advice to voters as to what they should do after voting. And this is what he said. This was supposed to be advice in fee. He said, would you vote to the House, now wait for the results? Why? Now, is that tree or English? Would you vote to now go back to the House, now wait for the results?
Yes,
Why don't we pretend?
It's a typical fancy melange of tree and English, maybe.
we should drop the pretenses. The standards have fallen all across board, and we should recognize that. We shouldn't make any excuses. We were lucky enough to have been educated by very good teachers, but even we had problems back then. It's taken us a while to get to where we are now, but it's the nature of the system. We really need to improve
in
it.
under a minute.
It was economics textbook that I found a problem with. I've written another article years back, and I've cited examples from an ICT textbook written by a teacher, and it was very, very bad also. So it's not just English. To the degree that English is the medium of instruction, then we should really focus on that.
Doc, at an opportune time, we hope to have you so you answer to the generational gap you talk about during the political turbulence of this country and also the way forward, because it's better not to educate people than to miseducate them. But your little piece of advice, maybe in under a minute, social media provides an avenue for young people to communicate. We use shorthands instead of I know or I know right, we do IKR. We have our own inventions. What little piece of advice do you have so that our language is not adulterated? Did we lose Doc? Okay. Sorry, I wanted to sneak in that question. And that was Dr. Nimoy Thompson, former chair, National Development Planning Commission. Time is fast spent. Let's see whether we can take a call or two. But Abena Safo will join us shortly to read some of your text messages. Let's take one or two calls. The number will roll on your screens shortly. You can call us on 02558. Okay, there's a caller. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Nana. I'm calling from Kolebu.
Nana calling from where?
Kolebu.
From Kolebu. Okay, speak up, Nana.
Yeah, I thank you for this program. It has been very educative.
You're welcome.
And I want to chip in some contribution.
Please do.
Yeah. It's about how we apply whatever we are taught in our schools.
Yes, Nana, we can hear you.
It seems the populace, they lack how to apply whatever they are taught in schools. And now, it's my advice that they should be taught. That is key to me. I don't know whether it is deliberate, but that is what I'm noticing from the youth that is coming. Whatever they are taught, they don't understand it and they don't know how to apply it in reality. That is key to me. So my advice to the Ghanaian populace is that they should teach their children how to apply things when they are taught. And they should see it's abound in our environment, reality. So they should pinpoint to them that this is what you've been taught, and so on. And that will help us.
Okay, thank you so much, Nana from Kolebu. Thanks for your call. Maybe we'll take one more call, and then we take your text messages. You can call on the numbers, the number that is boldly showing on your screens. Doc made quite very valid points. Generational gap, leaders not leading by example, speaking very bad English on radio and on television, and the fact that there needs to be a better monitoring regime. Let me take this call. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Speak up, bro. Okay, the line hasn't been too gracious. Okay, so we'll end the calls here. Sorry, we can't take any further. I'm joined by Abena Safo. Abena, what do you have for us by way of text messages?
Okay, we've received some few of them that would actually help us to build our educational system or improve upon our educational system in Ghana. And the first one say, okay, this is actually a comment from our trending news few minutes ago. I agree with you that deaf is indeed better than shame. That's from Jenny. And the next one says, I am really enjoying the program. Good job, Kantanka TV. Anoche from Tafo. I think children should rather be introduced into creative activities than the reading subject so that they can create things on their own so we can practically develop as a nation. This is from Nathaniel Abetifi. That's, yeah. And then the next one says, for me, I think all basic school people should be given vocational and technical education at their level than they read and write alone. And that's from Richie from UG. Happy belated birthday to Bernard Edu, Sport Desk from Kofi Obobi and the rest of the team. And then Ghanaians should learn from the Asian system of education, which has led to their fast economic growth. Samira from Sierra Leone, I am watching live. I love Ghana. And then the next one is also saying, I would like to find out if GES has a regulatory statutory for publishers in the country and who checks on that, because sometimes there are lots of mistakes in our textbooks. This is actually from Salifu from Navrungu. That's all for our trending news. That's all for the comments for today. I'll hand it back to everybody.
Abena Safo, thank you so much. This is all time will permit us, and thanks to the production team, Efrie, Obobi comes soon, and then the rest of the team, Kofi, Sir Charles, and Daddy Joe, the birthday boy, Ikuya, Esther, Rhoda, and a host of others. Till we come your way on Friday with another edition of News Magazine. Stay blessed and keep watching Kantanka TV.